is a U-bar. Really good for this time of year. We're in spring and we're doing bread preparation. The beauty of it is it doesn't invert the soil. These prongs go down pretty deep, create nice holes in the soil for the water to penetrate and to get air down in the soil. The important thing to remember about using a broad fork is to go backwards so you're not standing on the soil that you just aerated. Step one of your garden preparation for us before we put our compost and our fertilizers on top. We want a 1-inch layer. So this one will probably be about 7 wheelbarrows. But right now I'm going to use it upside down. And this is the width of the bed. So just basically want about 1 inch. So compost only has very little nutrients in it, but there's a lot more than just the nutrients. It's active, it's alive. So now that I've mixed my fertilizer, I have feather meal, blood meal, poultry waste, and lime in here, and it's a powdered lime. I'm trying to be as close as I can to the soil surface. And I'm going to go down the bed and distribute it. And this is on top of the compost, because compost alone is not enough for the production that we want to do. Compost is really great for perennials, but for tomatoes and a lot of crops, the compost alone just doesn't have enough of what we want. And this is also based on a soil test, because you really want to know what your soil fertility is before you apply any fertilizers. That's like step number one. So we rely on soil tests to help us inform what we're missing in our soil. And upwind, try to scratch it in a little bit, sort of incorporate it into the soil before planting. In a perfect world, you actually do this, incorporate all your fertilizers like a week or two before you plant, so it can settle in. And I just want to make sure that my bed is wide enough for my plant spacing. And I like a plateau, so when the rain comes down, it penetrates into the soil rather than rolling off into the pathway. Next thing is using my hoe. I want to make a furrow. So I'm using the hoe to measure. The hoe's about 4 inches. I need another 2, and I want to have my rows a foot apart. This is a Warren hoe. It has a nice V shape. Good for making a deep furrow. So now I'm further mixing all the soil amendments by making a furrow. So by dragging this in the soil down the line, and I can check at any time to make sure I'm equidistant from the string. Makes it easier to weed if your furrows are somewhat straight. And this is, nothing's mechanized. This is just really basic using hand tools. Windsor, fava. You have your garden rake, right? And a garden hoe. So we can use either of these tools. These are really nice and lightweight. This one's great because you're gonna close the furrow, and notice I'm on this side working over here. At this point, you're gonna want to remove the tape measure and this twine so that you can utilize all the material in the bed. Then I can come from the middle, still maintaining that plateau, so when the rain comes, If you have to err, whether it's level or not, err on the center being a little bit of a dip, so we can optimize holding on to that rake. And this is where the garden rake might be a better tool, which has better surface area. You don't want to compact it too much, so it's nice to have these holes in between, but you want really good seed to soil contact. Our last step would be to cover the crop. At the UW farm, we add a row cover. This is actually really when research in sustainable agriculture has revolutionized farming. This is a thin fabric, and when it's new, it lets in 90% of the sun and the rain. And it keeps the crows and the rabbits off of the crop. We're gonna take the top and make like a ponytail and slide it underneath and tie it off. You can tie it in any direction just so long as it's secure. If it's too short, we also pin them. I take my fabric, and we have a lot of wind here, so I'm gonna double it over. So I have 2 thicknesses. Take this, put it in the side of the bed. Then I'm gonna lift it up here. Find the other edge. Fold it over, and I can also use these. Go through 2 thicknesses of fabric. Find the edge of the bed and pin it. And the idea is you want to leave all this slack for the plant to grow. A common mistake is to have it like this. And that looks great initially, but as the plant emerges, you're going to have to keep changing the pins. Also, you can add hoops to this, and it's creating a low tunnel. This adds about 4 or 5 degrees of heat to the bed. Plus, since we elevated the bed, that's gonna warm up the soil even more. If you elevate it, it dries out quicker, which is good for this time of year. Elevating the bed, this depth. So that's gonna add warmer temps to the soil, and then this is gonna add 4 or 5 degrees even more. So we're gonna hopefully have the right temperature for our seed. Now, fava beans, you can have about 50 degrees soil temp, or right in that. Late February is a perfect time to plant fava beans. That's the end of planting our beans.